What's up, Go enthusiasts? We're here today to recap the second game of the 10 games of Blood and Tears between Huang Longshe and Zhu Xingyu. If you want to know more, check out the first video. Let's dive right into the game. You can see Huang Longshe starts with an approach. It means that the two corners are both valuable, so you can take either one of them, or does it? He then jumps first here. This is something you'd hardly ever see nowadays, but he's just asking to see uh, Black's response, and then to see whether he wants to build this area. And against the large knight, apparently he kind of does at this 3-4. The jump in an old Chinese rule set makes a lot more sense than in a modern rule set. A lot of the time these days, we would do a repincer or a 3-3, and we would hardly ever jump as the follow-up to an approach. In the old Chinese rules, those moves are likely to come with a group tax. I mentioned group tax last time. If you make a second group, when you could have only made one group, you have to pay 2 points in old Chinese rules. So jumping makes more sense because it's definitely going to still be one group. Well, not definitely, but probably at least. Black continues taking big points. I have to say I kind of like Zhu Jingyu's opening so far, and now I don't. This move is never played nowadays because we know it's bad because we do what Huang Longshe did against it. He pushes and Hanaes, and if Black cuts, then you cut and you capture the stone. And the point is, Black can Atari here, and that's like kind of painful for White. But at the end of the variation, White is just very strong there, and Black has some cut that White already has a cutting stone on. If Black tries to capture that cutting stone, then White can sacrifice it, and the Black shape is very small. It hasn't taken the corner yet. So what Zhu Jingyu does is a very snazzy move. He plays the attach under here. He's like, oh my god, it works. Look at me, I'm so cool. But Huang Longshe can just answer like this and allow Zhu Jingyu his Atari and just accept. And once again, Huang Longshe has just accepted Zhu Jingyu's attack, and he's like, well, now I'm strong. And Zhu Jingyu, although he's managed to block off the corner, so what? It's still not very good in terms of shape efficiency. Look, there's an empty triangle there. There's still the cut. Zhu Jingyu has to take care of his one stone on the bottom side as well. He plays a 2-space, and that means Huang Longshe gets to come in and harass. And honestly, this kind of gives Zhu Jingyu a moment to relax, calm down, play back, but he doesn't do that. He plays here. If he had played this way, I think that at least the bottom left corner result is not that bad, although you're still more envious of White's position than Black's position. And Zhu Jingyu probably thought if this would happen, White could still try to sacrifice that one stone, and he could come approach that corner, and the whole left side looks a little bit dominated. So he tried to pincer and use his Tengen stone, start some fight. Huang Longshe plays here. And you can see already the black stones are kind of getting in trouble. The black stones in the corner kind of have to save by themselves, and White can save easily if they have to do that in Gote. This is why we don't like to play this Joseki at all. So do not play the shoulder hit when your opponent approaches you. They can just push you up, split you, even if you capture one of their stones. Big deal. And White managing to save against your over attacking shoulder hit is too good. All right, well, how to save from here, how to continue. Zhu Jingyu chooses to attach, and this means that he can capture that one stone. If White would connect, it would be a ladder. That's why Huang Longshe can capture the one stone on the side. Zhu Jingyu manages to connect out to the center in Sente. Was it good? No, not even a little bit. Huang Longshe has the right of it here, and in general, Huang Longshe shows a very, very good opening. This is just as accurate as an opening would be nowadays, to be honest, from White, not from Black, but from White it is, and that's impressive considering that he did not have AI to tell him what to do, and he was still making all the right strategic decisions. From here, you can see that Black group has just kind of gone into being nothing, and Wade is very strong on both sides. It's because Black kept on kind of emphasizing on attacking, but not really. And Huang Longshe is like, oh, you kind of wanted to attack me? Then let me be strong. And Black's like, well, I wasn't really attacking you, so I guess I just get this stick. And it was very confused by Black, and that's why he has nothing at the end. He decides now to come take a corner enclosure, which can never be that bad, except it is, because White plays into the corner here. And now you can see that the Black group that was this group was kind of supposed to be attacking the two White groups. White now has all the territory nearby, and the Black group is getting attacked. This is just absolutely a disaster for Black. Instead of taking the enclosure, it would have been better to play here and finish off the corner at least, this means that the black group will be strong. So that's good. And the white group can potentially be weak later. So it wouldn't be such a bad result. But now it really is such a bad result. And black plays here, and Atari's. Lesser players would connect this Atari. Some people would Tenuki this. Huang Longshen knows he can still keep a lot of pressure on this black group, so he plays the turn here, intending to connect after this and saying, hey, if I turn there, that means later I can capture the Ko and Sente most of the time. That means I can still get rid of your eye. So the turn is an aggressive move against this black group. It's like, hey, I'm still going to try to surround you. I can still get rid of your eye. Are you going to run? Black doesn't need to run. He's fine right now. Like, white can't surround him with the next move, but it is pretty thick to run. It's like adding strength there, so he decides, okay, I'll Hane, and white Hane's here, and then he decides, all right, let me go for a double Hane. And white just Ataris that and lets black spend some stones in the center here. And this was, again, not good for black, because he didn't really need to save this, and yet somehow he's found himself spending several stones just sort of running with this group, taking hardly anything, and white has gotten several stones that are useful towards the left side. So once again, a loss for black in the bottom left corner. This is actually like piled up a lot. White has already caught up more than half of the 3 stones and no komi deficit, which is enormous. I didn't mention last time in the first game of Blood and Tears, 3 stones no komi in old Chinese rules is a 35 points handicap, according to Katago. That is a lot. 35 points of handicap. How much has white caught up already? We're on move 46. White has already caught up 20 points. 20 points. Zhu Xingyu's opening needs some work, and Huang Longshe's opening, on the other hand, perfect, flawless. Well, the good news for Zhu Xingyu is his strong part was never the opening stage of the game. He was always going to get wrecked in this part, and he just has to try to fight from here. Huang Longshe plays an invasion to the top side. This is something that they like to do a lot. It's sort of threatening the large knight's extension there in the corner, and black's like, all right, let me just solidify it. This is actually the correct thing to do, especially in old Chinese rules, to just become very thick there and say, hey, white, your 2 groups are the ones that are going to be weak. And white goes to attach over here. So he wouldn't just be satisfied taking a base on the top side, because then the game would be kind of boring. He'd rather leave the group to potentially be weak and try to harass the black on the left. This is definitely the right thing to do if you're in a handicap game. Black plays here. White has already gained when this happens. Black could have played some more aggressive way. Hane under, Hane over. Those are very powerful, very popular these days. This one is not popular because all white needs to do from here is like literally anything, and it's free. Like white just got so much power towards the left side that anything he does is just better now. All that black got was stuff on the corner, but white can still like attach here, shoulder hit, and use the corner Aji from the other side. So black didn't really get anything. White chooses to jump. And in my opinion, this is not a really reasonable way to continue after you get that kind of exchange. This is sort of looking to gain power in front of that, but the whole point was that we're not going to gain power from we're not going to like strike the corner anymore. Like this is sort of justifying that black move. I would much prefer to see directly just a sort of leaning or capturing move on that 1 stone. If black succumbs to the second line, obviously this exchange is going to be really good, and of course later I want to use my Aji against that corner on the top side, save that 1 stone, that sort of thing. But this way was played in the game by Huang Longshe, and black turned underneath, which I think is a horrible decision. Again, black is basically just accepting, hey, Huang Longshe, you wanted to bully me? Well, I think you're the better player, so you get to bully me. And if you would just resist, however, then you start a fight, and there's no reason why Huang Longshe is necessarily supposed to win that fight. It's just that you think he's better than you. So I don't really like this kind of move in spirit, but it's what Zhu Jingyu played, and Huang Longshe just played a jump. Again, I think if someone is this passive, there's no reason to like go along with them and take extra power and prepare to fight when that's like The only way that this kind of stuff that Black just played 2 stones on the second line, B16, B15, can be good is if he can then punish you from the outside. So if we just control the outside, something like this, there's no way that Black is going to be satisfied linking on the second line here. So this one I think is a little bit too much, and Zhu Jingyu finally grows into his 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 self, his power, and plays a strong move. The attach on the other side is baiting Wait to go through and saying, hey, if you do that, then I'll fight you, and my corner is so strong, man. Come on. And that's definitely true. That's why Huang Langshe has to play on this side, and Zhu Jingyu plays this way. So he realizes he can't link up underneath, and he's going to fight on the outside. And this is really a great idea. Huang Langshe chooses now to play underneath like this because he couldn't resist making Black into the bad shape and making a fight. So in this fight, White is going to have to save his group there, but Black will also have to save his group, and the shape is going to be really awkward. The good news for Black is that he has a cut here. And that cut is sort of tied to the ko over here, but for now it looks like it might possibly be working. Black should at least jump first to keep some pressure on those stones, keep some pressure on these stones. White chooses to turn, and Hane asking Black if he can cut this. Black says, yes, I can, and I'm going to cut you there later, and White plays here. I actually think it was a mistake, though, to do this, although it looks like you're going to have to answer this cut. What if you don't? So it looks right now, this is a basic Miai, a double threat, where Black will either turn here, capturing those stones, or cut there and capture these 3 stones. But White can take the ko. And so this one is really going to be a ko if it goes this way. I think I would take this ko. If you have Black committed this hard into doing it, even if you end up losing the ko, White can maybe still live in the corner, maybe still play over there. I really don't think that this is a kind of fighting which White should be scared of. Black to commit this hard into just capturing 3 stones. But Huang Langshe was scared enough to fix it like this. And then Zhu Jingyu does something very strange, which is to prevent the groups from linking up underneath. I definitely think this one should have been just any random outside move to take care of his own group. And if White wants to link up on the second line, that's not a win. That's just a, oh, okay. That's not something that Zhu Jingyu needed to fear, but Zhu Jingyu is a very aggressive player, so he played it, and White could run out in the center. And this is actually quite scary. Black decided he needed to fix here because otherwise White had some potential to net those 3 stones and therefore net the whole group. And if he nets the whole group there, then that thing could die. So this is actually quite scary, and Black was probably correct to run with a diagonal move here. But White plays this move. And this is a real headache for Zhu Jingyu. I have to really admire the spirit that Huang Langshe had to push here. It means that if Zhu Jingyu just answers like this, Huang Langshe doesn't need to exchange anything more. He can just come here. But anytime he wants, Huang Langshe can get an additional diagonal move that is forcing for a snapback here. And so Huang Langshe just prepared that and said, hey, if I have that diagonal move, then I'm going to really try to seal you in the upper left. And if I don't have that diagonal move, so if Black would instead have played something like this, maybe instead he won't try so hard to do something very strong in the upper left, but try to do some pulling out operation over here. Eventually, maybe not right away, but someday at least. So this is such a nice asking move, this pulling out one time here. All it does is give Black like 1 more point of territory, something like that, and it really clarifies for White the next direction of his attack. So when Black plays here, of course, White will try to press as hard as he can in the upper left. Black exchanges this one time. He's managed to gain the option to capture that 1 stone, but that's not enough for 2 eyes. So he needs to push through and cut, and he needs to fight on the outside. And this fighting is going to be really interesting. My first intuition is to extend the stone, the 1 stone that's been cut, actually. But that's not what Huang Langshe does in the game. He Ataris from this one. And this is normally something you should never do. If you Atari, your opponent gets an extending move, which is very powerful. However, in this case, Huang Langsha knew after that he can play here. This is the vital point to cut a large knight, and it's supported by his Sente move here. You can notice that Huang Langsha is still not playing that Sente move, just in case he would want to do something else in the local area, or whether this move would shorten his own liberties. That's also entirely possible, that you play this kind of exchange and then later you're like, oh my god, that move is just taking my own liberty away. So he refrains from playing that, and he's run this group out, and he can't be captured with the one cutting stone. So this is actually a well-organized fight by Huang Longsha, and you might ask, well then, why didn't he play here, though? Because this one would have more power over there, and it still looks well-organized, except that black can play this move. And these stones are very, very tight on liberties. You see, this is not even White Sente anymore. White would just die. That would be funny. So White would have to run like this, and you can see White is so short on liberties. Basically, all he can do is something like this, trying for a ladder threat and a breaking out threat, but Black has this move as well, and White would definitely have a hard time playing this fight. So Huang Lengshe, very, very clever to play like this, Atari once and then running to make sure that he was aware all of his groups could run in the proper way. Actually, one thing that I saw from AI though that was even more clever, I think Huang Lengshe didn't see it, is if you exchange this move first and then play here, then Black's winning move like this, now you can just Atari it and play this way. And this is actually going to be even stronger fighting for White. Notably, Black cannot play here because White could play like this, and all the time, even if Black tries double Hane, there's not going to be any liberty shortage. White is going to be able to run out. So that fighting would have been even more fierce, but this is already quite good for White. Black plays this jump, and when he plays that jump, you sort of intuit that his meaning is to run out again, but he was a coward and he just connected. If he was going to play like that, of course, you could just play the Atari and then like this, right? So when he jumped first, it meant, oh, I'm gonna try to push through like this. And actually, this is better for Black, but he didn't have the spirit to do it. At this point, it looks a bit scary. Like, oh my god, I'm getting surrounded. I can't capture that outside group. I'm gonna have to race the inside. But actually, if you just save this stone and race this group, the white group on the inside, there's no way that this white group can beat the black group. Black has so many outside liberties here, and you can even see white has an approach that they have to play, a cutting point that they haven't quite taken. And even other than that, Wei has to stay stable on the outside with his two groups here. This is very much winning fighting for Black if it'd go that way. So of course, if it's Huang Longshi, he wouldn't actually overplay and try to kill Black and fail. It would go more like this. He captures these two stones in the ladder, and White is still threatening to cut this, so maybe Black could answer the whole time. A variation like this, maybe this is what Black saw, if we're generous to Zhu Yu. Maybe he saw this far and was like, I don't really like my territory. It looks like White is strong. But this variation would definitely be better than the game, where at this point we're kind of flailing for Black. I mean, the capturing race that I showed earlier, it looked quite good for Black because White didn't have very many outside liberties at all, and Black had plenty. But in this kind of situation, Black has not even sealed off the center. I mean, White still has potential to gain stuff, to gain a lot of stuff in the center, and the fighting in general should be pretty difficult for Black from here. However, Huang Longshe makes a mistake, and he Ataris this side, intending to try to link up to his one stone on the top. But this allows Black to fill a liberty from the top side relevant to this capture race. And that actually makes this capture race quite difficult for White. And at the same time, White doesn't have a good follow-up to really capture those two stones right away. So rather than play like this, it would have been better for White to push through to the other side. If White pushes through on this side, then eventually Black's sealing move against these stones, it doesn't take an extra liberty. So White would be one liberty more free in this capture race. That actually matters because that's often going to become something like a ko later. And additionally, the threat in the center, to be able to capture the two stones like this shape is just much, much nicer than what happened in the game. If Black would run like this, then White could play this exchange and capture this stone. And still, if Black can't capture these, the fighting is obviously just completely dominated for white. So that way the fighting would have been a lot better than the way that Huang Langshe organized it in the game. It was a little bit too rushed what he did to link up to that stone. That wasn't the most urgent area right now. He should have controlled the fighting in the center and in the upper left corner. And now he plays this move. This is intending to take away any chance that black has to make an eye on the left side, and then he plays this. So this is a nasty move. It's really good to play this kind of move in a handicap game. It just leaves the ko to link up to that group in the upper left, and if he links up to that, then the whole black group over there is apparently dead. So that's really difficult to handle as the black player, especially in a handicap game. You're like, man, I don't know the judgment. How big is this group? Like, if it's a one-step ko, can I leave it, or do I have to play there because it's too big? It's really difficult. In the game, black chose to hane and then play a move like this. And this move is looking to cut those white 2 stones, and white chose to simply connect. It was probably not bad for black to play a move to try to seal this off, but from here, what they're threatening all the time and what they're talking about is going to be something like a one-step ko or a painful ko for white, one of the two, however this capture race plays out. And actually, there's something that's a little bit more urgent relative to this hane. That hane by itself has created a cutting point for white here, and white has only 3 liberties. And if those stones die, then the whole black group is saved without having to win any ko or any nasty thing like that. So this black move here, this mostly kills the white stones, but not even 100%, to be honest. White can still play an eye-making move to make some ko shape and some complications. If instead of that, black had played this cut, then white would actually be in pretty severe trouble. The only way to save those stones now is to Atari here and extend like this. But I think this is pretty obvious that this is not good to Don level players. I mean, nobody is happy to make shapes like this as white, where you just split off your own stones on the top and die with them. That can never be satisfying at all. And there's still the threat that black will run out these stones in the center. It's very likely white would just end up answering and basically cede the entire top side to black for free, and then black can still come back here if he wants. So that would have been a lot better, but black just immediately played there and gave white the chance to play on the outside first. Huang Langshe was sharp, he didn't miss it this time. And now if black would try the same cutting thing, then white could just capture these 2 stones right away. So he plays here, of course, the cut. This one, black can't split the stones on the top side. So now if he tries something like this, then white can eat that 1 stone. Black isn't strong enough to cut those off anymore. So black played here, which eliminates the ko over there. But was it good? So those white stones are now dead. But the question is, what were they before? At this point, it's a capture race without really a ko, so it's not that difficult to read. It was a little bit more difficult to figure out what was going on if black would just play away. So if he did that, then white would play here. Then we can exchange this. This black move, it's pretty much forcing for white to block here. Otherwise, black can try to fill that in Sente and try to make a really good race. Then black can play this move to deny the eye. If white would take the eye, then this would have made an approach liberty and an extra liberty in the liberty fight. So it's basically a natural flow for black to play this exchange and then take the potential eye from white. Then you can imagine white filling a liberty, black filling a liberty, and this part isn't so hard to read. And the difficult part is judging what's happening now. And you have to realize that this is actually a 1-step ko. If black wants to win the ko, he can just try to capture the ko and then capture the group. But if white wants to win the ko from here, white can't just fill a liberty. White has to play an approach move first, and then fill a liberty, and then win the ko. So actually, sorry, not a 1-step ko, but a 2-step ko is the proper way to think of it. And the more steps that you add to a ko, the more value there is in not playing it. Because if you would allow white to play this move at 105 and continue to play away, and allow white to play this move, and then fight the ko, and then imagine that you win the ko somehow, don't ignore my moves over there. The point is that these 2 white moves that were played are completely useless. They have literally 0 value. But if you just won the ko right away, then you would have passed up on the opportunity to play several outside moves for free, several just totally good moves on the other part of the board while white is playing useless ones. So actually finishing the ko like this, capturing the group, although those two groups look really big, you lose the opportunity to make your opponent waste moves trying to capture you. And so finishing step codes like this too early is almost always going to be a bad idea in the middle game. And it's only really as we transition towards endgame that you want to keep your eye towards finishing step codes and trying to just say that winning the battle was bigger than anything that white could do. All right, from there, white plays another big move. So you can see actually Huang Longsha sort of took advantage of Zhu Jingyu's uncertain reading and judgment in the fight there. He managed to play the important outside move, capturing those two stones, and another important point, taking away the corner territory, while Zhu Jingyu is busy finishing off a ko that Huang Longsha didn't even really want to start. Okay, from here, the game is still pretty close compared to the beginning, but Zhu Jingyu is in the lead. Because the fighting that Huang Longsha did was really sabotaged by that one Atari, that one wrong direction Atari. It really made it difficult for him to win. So even though he's made all sorts of gains in all the other aspects of the fight, Huang Longsha is still down about 15 points. So he has to go in deeply, and black is playing conservatively, just blocking here. These days, that's not even on our radar. If you have this much power there, you have to block here. And no white player would really play this one because it's too scary. This kind of thing happens, black gets this much strength, they try to counterattack you. This doesn't look good for white. So all the white players these days will play here, and then if black gets to block, this is just better, actually. It's a good thing to know. If you manage to make this shape, it's much better for black than the game shape where you block like this and white plays this one. In this shape, the white territory and the white cuts are much stronger than in the shape where you manage to exchange a push and exchange a Atari. In that shape, you had still a second line potential cut, and in general, just the territory that white had was smaller. This way, black has this peep, so it looks like he can use some cuts on the side there, but they aren't really that valuable, and it's difficult to show that you can actually get something from them a lot of the time. This is a common variation that we see these days, except we never see this one, and it's indeed a mistake. If it's played these days, they always cut here, because if white would capture, you could capture these two stones, and then this one stone in the corner is very silly looking. So white cannot answer when you cut on this side by capturing the one stone. White has to answer on this side. Then that means that you can try to fight against either the corner group or on the outside, and actually just saving these two stones on the second line is a pretty common method in modern Go, which is fun. Instead, in the game, we see black just using up all of his cutting points to give white strength and then take his narrow eye space in the corner there. That was not good. If black had just left well enough alone and not done any of that, it would have been a lot better actually. But he managed to spend his gote to live there, and white now gets the option to spend his next move basically wherever he wants. You can feel free to pause the video and try to figure out the best direction to play. In the game, Huang Longsha played after this Atari here. And so his point was, if he captures this one stone, later he can try to take the whole corner. And if he does that, he can take this ko and sente. And if he does that, then this black group has only one eye. It can only capture those two stones. And if white manages to surround it, then it could be in trouble. So this is sort of a lurking, powerful move. He's also thinking it's gaining strength with his stones. However, I hate it. I think that was almost a losing move for Huang Longsha, almost. If instead he just played some random move on the right side, then the power that he had there could really threaten black. And he can just challenge, hey, I'm going to get a lot of area here. Do you want to come in? And if black invades, then he could get a lot of power against these black groups, the black group on the bottom, the black group there. And if black doesn't invade, then white can outline like a lot of territory there, and he can definitely win the game. He can definitely catch up. But Huang Longshe chose to play this way. I kind of think it's too passive, because if we were going to get attacked with that group, we could definitely save it anyway. That was why the Joseki was so good in the first place. So it's a little bit sad to only be going for the corner here. Black continues by naturally putting a stone on the right side, and you can see Wei can put much less pressure on it because his own stone is weak. Wei even just takes the corner right now. It was really a big move. I mean, this does just mean that the Ko will come in Sente for Wei most of the time, and Wei will even have some liberty issues, so he can keep a lot of pressure on that black group in the center. But Zhu Xingyu's idea here was better. He's keeping pressure on the white corner. That white corner is going to have to run out. As it does, he won't get any territory. Black will just naturally save his group on the side, his group on the bottom side. And it's going to be really hard from here for Huang Longshe to outline anything to catch up in the game. So I think these couple moves that Huang Longshe played were slightly bad direction. It really wasn't that bad. My AI said it barely lost anything, but in my opinion, like humanly, the game becomes much harder for Wei from here to win. He plays the shoulder hit like this, and Black answers. And Wei plays the dog's face. So he's just running out naturally, and he's trying to make some eye space over the small points. And Black just pushes, and Wei plays a pincer. Okay, a lot of the time Wei would just block there, but he realized if he just plays like that and just answers here the whole time and lets Black make a very nice base on the side, then Black will get the peep someday, and this group will be so strong. There's no way to really win that game. So he chose to immediately play a pincer here, trying to keep some counter pressure and basically saying, hey, Black, you can't actually cut me. Like, what's your threat? Black says, this is my threat. It's like, well, I can connect. Look, you're split. And Black's like, I'm split. Well, you're split. Wait's like, no, you're split. And Black's like, no, you're split. They've both managed to cut each other without really being cut, which is an interesting thing to say. And Wait finally finishes it off with a split on the bottom. That means that the Black group on the bottom side can really get attacked, and Wait is confident to be able to save his stick there. So Black managed to get a lot of territory in the corner, and he really has just one task to continue with. It's to save this. He can just run out the group. White needs to run out his own group, and the flow here should be pretty simple for Black, but he messes it up. He plays this Atari, and then like this. It wasn't a mistake to play in that direction, but the execution was wrong. If you're going to play this move, it's much better to abstain from exchanging the Atari until you're certain that you need it. Of course, if Wei is going to try to play here, then we may not want to just connect like this, but instead connect with a tiger's mouth. But you can always just get that Atari later if you really need it. And what's more likely is that Wei would want to run with his group somehow. Then as Wei runs and you continue just generally keeping pressure, it's really valuable to be able to peep from this side. If you can peep from this side and leave some potential cut for Wei in the center, then we could actually launch an attack on these stones. And playing this Atari first before you run is sort of like giving up on your attack as you're attacking. It doesn't really make sense. So that exchange was too early, and it allows Wei to freely just play a 2-space jump. He definitely wouldn't be able to play that far if he still had a cut there. But he manages to play like this, and Black needs to save his group. He tries to connect it to the center. It's very natural. Wei should just allow that because he has his own regroup to handle right now. Black makes this empty triangle that may look like a bad shape, but in such a situation, it actually really isn't. It would be worse shape to play here and allow the cut forever. Much better to play this one, filling a liberty, and you don't have any potential cuts in this area. White plays here, and this one is actually the bad shape move that Black plays. It would have been better to play here, because as you'll see in the game, when White plays this Atari, Black has to answer. Instead, if Black had played this one, for White to make sense of that move, he'd have to like try to save it somehow, but he can't really save it underneath. It's not gonna work. So he'd want to play here really, and then in this case, Black could cut another empty triangle, and this one is meaning that one stone is captured, and Black has some eye space here. If White plays there, Black just answers. We aren't going to really be able to put much pressure on this White, but this way, Black's connection is much more secure, and the whole group, which only had one eye, now has his second eye. This way, instead, Black still doesn't quite have his second eye. if it goes like this. And Wait's group, although it doesn't have this move, it still is pretty secure because it can harass those 2 stones. They're not so well connected. So that means that Wait can play from this side, trying to take some territory. Black cuts one time. Exchange for that, I don't really know if that was necessary. It seems kind of hard to use that cut, and Black just sort of gives up and plays a Tiger's Mouth right away, and White manages to play the extend here. Sort of feels like that cut was just countered when White got to play the next move in that area. And Black plays this move, but I think he like I don't understand. I think he like forgot that he lost all his Aji, or he was like probably just wishful thinking that if only I hadn't lost this Aji, then this move could work. Look, see, I know about it. In this situation, it doesn't make any sense. He just gave up a stone on the top side that's giving up a lot of endgame in return for getting a cut in the center. But that cut in the center does nothing because Wei has the stone already ataring those 2 stones. If he had just done that before exchanging this cut, it would actually make some sense, like to play a double Hane there. That is actually a reasonable move, to play a double Hane, then play a cut in the center. But in the order that Zhu Jingyu did it, it just sort of fed Huang Longshe a little bit more territory. So Zhu Jingyu is calming himself down. He's just running into the center and trying to reduce it. Huang Longshe exchanges some pushes and plays this peep. It was a nice order to exchange the push into Black shape on the top side first before you play this peep, because Black is going to answer anyway. And now you can see if White would push here after all this stuff in the center, Black would definitely not play O16 but P16 to secure an extra point. So that was very nicely done by Huang Longshe, a perfect order of moves. He exchanges this, forcing Black to connect. To be honest, Black isn't really forced to connect. It may not be that big. There could be some bigger endgame. But Black chose to connect in the game. White plays the really big move on the side. Black extends here, making sure to not become Liberty tight. That was good. And they play some fighting in the center where Black is harassing this White group, always looking to cause it to have some Liberty problems as it connects. White fixes all the way like this, and Black exchanges this Atari. I don't understand that Atari like at all, to be honest. Now if White plays another move, then it's going to capture, and if Black plays another move, it would just be the same thing anyway. So since Black Tanukis after this, I think it's just very obviously a mistake from Black. But his move to play away, I can understand. It's like Black was thinking he was going to fight this Ko, and then he realized, oh, if White just plays another move, he'd get all of this territory. That's too big. Let me try to reduce it. And White plays this one. So he's taking a really big endgame. Black blocks, making sure that White doesn't have even further stuff relative to this cut and a large endgame there. White takes the cut anyway. Huang Longshe is a big fan of doing this kind of thing, where you exchange a cut and then plan to use it from either side later. Like either he'll race the Black group from the outside here or from the outside here, and it's really annoying to answer this kind of thing. In the game, Huang Longshe decides after this Atari he can't really directly chase any of these stuff. His 2 stones are too short of Liberty to make anything work right away, so he plays this one. And Zhu Jingyu answers, which may look quite strange, because it looks like Zhu Jingyu has an eye here and an eye here. So answering there is I mean, if the Black group wouldn't die, it looks like it's well connected, right? It should just be very small, right? It should be almost no points. But Huang Longshe had a reason to play this move, and Zhu Jingyu saw it. If Black had actually played away some big move, like this one, for example, White could play here. And you might be like, Telegraph, what are you talking about? Black can play this one, and if White pushes through, Black can Atari here and connect either way. But this White move is Atari on the whole Black dragon over here. Black would have to answer and then get cut off and killed. So that would not be good for Black. That's why Black answered like this. And White continued to try to attack the whole dragon. So White is thinking that he can try to kill this whole thing. I mean, not really, but more like as he tries to kill, he can gain some territory. However, this is a really bad decision by Huang Longshe, because it means that Black can take this moment to talk about his group as like half dead, and he can try to fight with it as though Huang Longshe is really trying to kill it, and he can look to counterattack things. So when he plays this Atari before, Huang Longshe would not have to care about that stone, because if Black captures it, it's hardly any points. But now Huang Longshe has to save it because he's said he's trying to handle the connection of the big Black group and those stones. So Black then pushes here. and Huang Longshi has to connect. Otherwise, it didn't make any sense to why you jumped there. And then Zhu Jingyu plays here. Huang Longshi continues playing that exchange and then playing the jump here. It's all really not good, because what black can do at this point is try to counterattack this white group. This has gone on so long, and white has lost so much in terms of his possibilities on the side here, that actually this white group is like not locally alive, and black still has this ko to connect over here. So if black just like plays some random moves in the center, this white group is going to struggle, and it's going to have to pay a lot to be able to save itself. But I think both players forgot about that in the game, to be honest, because black just answered here. And there is definitely no need to answer in a position like this, where even if white plays this move and eliminates the eye over here, there's still just another eye here. So like black was alive anyway. Black playing this one is just becoming like more alive, and it's becoming more alive while there's actually a white weak group on the board, and an interesting area over here as well. If we could combine the center with reducing the right side, that would be like really good. It was clearly a mistake. And then Huang Longshi continued by playing here. So he's harassing using those two stones. You can see it's very annoying, right? And Huang Longshi has forced Zhu Jingyu to fall back all the way to here. And I don't know if it's really forced, because again, if Zhu Jingyu would just ignore this and play some random moves, putting pressure on the white center, it's not like white would be alive with some stones over there. So this would still not be very comfortable for white at all. But in the game, it went like this, and then Huang Longshi even connected here. Yeah, I have some feeling that they are like forgetting that the black stones there are savable or something like that. I really couldn't understand when I was watching this game. Black even plays here. I don't understand at all. They're just completely playing away from the center. But white answered, so that was interesting. And then black played this one, and then they're just playing endgame. They don't care about the center at all. I think they just think that there's nothing that can be done there for some reason. I think there's something that can be done there, but they're just playing endgame. So that move is just reducing. This one is endgame. And finally, Huang Longshi captures a stone over here, making sure his group is strong. This leaves him a lot of opportunity for counter pressure against the black center. So when black plays here, now white can definitely wedge. It was not really clear that white could wedge before, while this group in the bottom right was kind of dying. But at this point, it's pretty clear that whichever way black connects here, white can cut the other one. So of course, black will choose to connect in the center, so to not die with as many stones as possible. And white can just Atari here, and black connects. And interestingly, it's at this moment which white resigned the game. Yeah, I have no idea what to say for the last part, because to be honest, white had a really good chance to win if at any moment there, instead of playing all of this endgame, I mean, he was sort of gaining by playing the endgame since black was never attacking him, but he would gain more if at some point, maybe instead of this move, if he tries to like really dominate against the black shape there, and he's like, hey, if you connect here, then I'll attack like this and like this. I mean, maybe if white plays this move, then white can save with more territory here as well, and then try to keep a cut in the center. Now, if this would happen, you'll try to cut to this side instead of just the wedge. That's also possible. It was just sort of like passive play by Huang Longshi. Maybe he thought he was pressing as hard as he could against the limits of the end game, and then it didn't work in the end. But to be honest, at the end there, you can see it continues on my game record. Although Huang Longshi resigned, black was only leading by about 6 points. So if Huang Longshi had fought just a little bit better in the middle game, he could definitely continue. I actually played this game out against GLAT, and although black is winning by 6 points now, at the end of my game, black was winning by only 2 points. I was black, GLAT was white. I think that's actually a relatively fair description of our endgame level. Huang Longshi plays endgame somewhat like GLAT, and I play endgame somewhat like Zhu Jingyu. So it was probably correct to resign. I mean, if even I could beat GLAT from here, then it's tough. But this game was kind of a shame, where Huang Longshi had managed to almost completely reverse the 3 stones in 46 moves, and then after that just stalled and couldn't quite get past Zhu Jingyu's fighting ability. We can blame Zhu Yu being good, but to be honest, I think it was also a little bit Huang Longshi not choosing the most active fights that he could. Alas, it was a good try. I'll be happy to see you guys in the Game of Blood and Tears number 3. Toodaloo.